Chapter 9. The Algonquin Road Mystery. I read this in the South Dedham transcript the next morning. Algonquin Road slaying mystifies police. Wife suspected in brutal murder. Missing lawyer might hold key. By Martin Meanwell. A tragedy. Andrew Bogan, 25, was found gunned down inside his humble Algonquin Road abode Wednesday night. The police arrived shortly after gunfire was reported by a neighbour living further up the lane. Records show that the call was logged by the South Dedham Police Department desk sergeant at 9:51 p.m. Patrolmen O'Brien and Flaherty arrived at the scene within minutes of each other, shortly after 10 p.m. They found Bogan face down in a puddle of his own blood. He had been shot in the back. A window near the lifeless body had been smashed to smithereens with a chair that was later found broken apart in the woods. A large serrated kitchen knife rested beside Bogan's lifeless hand. Bullet shells littered the hallway floor. No gun was found. Bogan's wife, Vidalia, 24, heard the shots, but did not know who fired them. "She was sitting in the kitchen when we arrived," said Patrolman O'Brien. "She just sat there, smoking a cigarette, like nothing unusual had happened. When I told her that her husband was dead, she said, 'Good, now haul his stinking carcass away.'" Vidalia Bogan admitted to both Patrolman O'Brien and Flaherty that she was not alone when Mr. Bogan came home. Benjamin Lombardi was there. Lombardi, 47, is a well-known and respected lawyer in this town and works in the Oddfellows building on Washington Street. Most of you might recall that he won the Mr. Nice Guy Award last year. Vi Bogan tried to convince us that she and Lombardi were doing legal work, said Patrolman Flaherty, but we knew better. There was an open bottle of Seagram's VO on the table, romantic music playing on the radio, and Mrs. Bogan was barefoot. Patrolman O'Brien added, "My guess is that their couch capades ended abruptly when Andy Bogan came home. Surprise! He caught them playing footsies, grabbed a kitchen knife and went after Lombardi as if Lombardi were the prodigal son's father's fattened calf. Lombardi got cornered in a bedroom but managed to get away by smashing out the window with a chair. Bogan never made it to the window. He was dropped by someone standing in the hallway. Andy Bogan was employed by the Boston, Hartford, and Erie Railroad. He was scheduled to work the 8:20 p.m. train leaving Boston on Wednesday night. However, he and another man were sent home without pay. I was told by a custodian who works in the train yard that Bogan and his pal were caught swapping swigs from a bottle of Old Crow before their shift began. About that same time, Vidalia Bogan was sitting on her usual bar stool at Hannigan's on East Walpole Street. "She left with a beady-eyed, thin man," said a witness. "I showed this witness a picture of Benjamin Lombardi, and he said, 'Yeah, that kind of looks like the guy.'" The bartender added, "That piker," Lombardi, "came in here like he was John Winthrop the Younger, flashing $100 bills as if he were some big shot. Police have not yet spoken to Lombardi. He wouldn't answer his door when they knocked. They'll try again later. Lombardi's neighbors told me that the Lombardi family owns a cottage in East Falmouth and that Benjamin Lombardi might be there. The family normally spends their summers on the Cape." Vidalia Bogan was brought to the South Dedham police station late Wednesday night to be questioned. She was later released. Police did not say whether or not they intend to charge her with Andy Bogan's murder, but it seems likely. She was the only one there besides Lombardi, and Lombardi was hot-footing it through the woods when Andy Bogan got his lead slap on the back. I spoke with Norfolk County District Attorney Moses Papa Snooks Allen, and he told me that he isn't charging anyone with anything until a gun is found. Vi Bogan didn't leave the house, he said. That means the gun should be there, right? Until that gun is located and examined, there's a possibility that someone else killed Andy Bogan. Detective Sergeant Oakes was a bit more succinct in his assessment of the overall situation. He told me that until a gun is found and Benjamin Lombardi is questioned, this case is far from being resolved. He believes Lombardi knows who killed Andy Bogan and has gone into hiding. Oakes asked that anyone knowing the whereabouts of Lombardi should contact the South Dedham Police Department as soon as possible. I was relieved to read that Vi Bogan hadn't been charged with murder. It seemed unlikely that she would be now. I was also pretty confident that Benjamin Lombardi would have a good alibi when he was questioned. I regretted terribly that he had been unintentionally involved in our Algonquin Road ordeal. I scanned the Boston newspaper next. It mentioned the death of Andy Bogan but said very little. I turned back to the front page and noticed a story about a mobster named Rory O'More. He had just been acquitted of racketeering charges in South Boston. I wrote down the name. Lars came to the hotel in the late afternoon. We enjoyed a glass of scotch together. Loris, you look rather dashing with your new blonde hair," said Lars, lighting a cigar. "The woman you hired did a very thorough job," I said. "She also set up the sun lamp over there." I pointed. "Did the tailor come?" "Yes, he measured me for my new yachting clothes." "Good." I showed Lars the South Dedham transcript. He read about our previous night's adventure. Then he set down the paper and frowned. "That Lombardi might be in a bit of hot water," he said. "I hope he has a good alibi." "I think he will. Oak said he was a decent family man." I don't know, Loris. Decent family men always turn out to be the worst cheaters of them all. I'll lay you good odds that the poor bugger was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing last night when his wife and children were frolicking about on the seashore. "I hope you're wrong about that." "Vi Bogan should be okay. The county DA seems to have a good head on his shoulders." "You mean Papa Snooks Allen?" I laughed. "Even if the police find the gun, it'll be so far away from the scene of the crime that it will only help Vi Bogan now." "I agree. How was the polo match today?" "To be honest, Loris, I didn't pay much attention. I was too busy carousing with all the beautiful ladies." "It sounds like you had a lot of fun." "I was chosen by Town and Country magazine to be their most eligible bachelor this year." "Aren't you still married?" Technically, I guess I am, but it's common knowledge that I'm out and about looking for romance these days. Everyone at the polo match wanted to have their picture taken with me." "What if one of those pictures appears in a newspaper up in South Dedham?" "The only person who would recognize me is that old sot on Tremont Street, and she was far too stewed to remember anything." "What about the people at Hannigan's Bar?" "Those fools thought you were Lombardi. They wouldn't know a horse from a zebra." "I guess you're right." "I should probably get going." Lars stood and extinguished his cigar. "What are you doing tonight?" I asked. "I'm attending a charity function at the widow Asboth's mansion." "Who's she?" "I met her at the polo match today." "Is she old?" "No, quite young, actually." "And she's a widow?" "I would assume so. Everyone refers to her as the widow Asboth." "Well, I hope you enjoy yourself. It sounds like you'll have a lot of fun." "Just think, Loris, in a few days you'll be attending these festive functions with me. These galas are ripe with good-looking women." "I'm looking forward to it, Lars. Very much so." I walked Lars out and put him in a taxi.